Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm DFG and we are back in the Absolute Beginner's Guide to Stationeers. In the last session I showed you how to make the basic furnace and how to smelt steel in this furnace using 3 stacks of 50 iron ore and 1 stack of 50 coal. At the right pressure and temperature it will allow you to make steel, and to find out what that is you press F1, click home, click ingots and find the ingots you want to make, in this case steel. You come up with this screen, scroll down to the furnace you've got. Don't worry about the rest of it, just look at this top one here. It is above 900 degrees Kelvin or 627 degrees centigrade and below 100,000 degrees Kelvin, because that's kk, and above 1 megapascal and less than 100 megapascal. And as long as you're within that pressure range, that temperature range, with the right mix of carbon and iron, so that's coal and iron, or it could be charcoal and iron, then you will get some steel out the other end, which is what we did, and we put it into this printer. As you can see, we've now got 200 grams of steel, 50 grams of copper and 50 grams of gold. What I want to do is now show you how to build a better solar panel. It's this solar panel, so not this basic solar panel, it's this one, this solar panel kit, and it takes 5 grams of gold, 20 grams of copper and 15 grams of steel, and it is made in the electronics printer. And if you just click go in it now, we'll go away and print that for you, and we'll come back once it's finished printing the kit. And welcome back, and we've now got our solar panel kit. Pick that up and we will show you what it looks like. So there are 2 types of this solar panel kit. I'll show you what it's like on the floor here first, and then we'll go and build it on the roof. So if I right click, try and get a good view of it. There you go, you can see there's a big panel on the top and there's a hinge just under the panel itself. It's a cross-shaped base, and if I rotate it you'll see there is a power connection on the left hand side donated by the lightning bolt, and if I rotate it on the opposite side there is a network connection donated by the 3 connected boxes. That's one type. The second type, just rotate right that way, so we go from that with 1 connection either side to this one which has only got the 1 connection, and that's power and data on the same port. And if I left click to place that, you can see it's got a little lightning bolt for the power and a little data connection. Now obviously I don't want to build it here, but I'm just using an example. Next thing you need is 1 sheet of glass, nothing special, just a sheet of glass in your hand, left click, put it in there, and that is it. And now if I jump up, you'll see a sheet and that solar panel in there. To dismantle it, it's very simple. You use the crowbar to remove the sheet of glass, and the sheet of glass has gone back in my hand, and then you use the hand drill to actually dismantle the thing itself. That's it. That's all it takes to build and dismantle one of these solar panels. Now I'm going to build it up here, and the reason I'm going to build it up here is for simplicity really. The sun tracks up over the top and down that side, so I just want to be on the roof somewhere where it gets good view of from horizon to horizon. And I also want not the dual one with dual ports, I want the standard one with 1 port. I'm having that port on the left hand side there. Left click, place it, sheet of glass, left click to place that. Now at the minute that's not getting anything because it's pointing directly up and the sun is over there. So if I put the spanner in my hand and use, I think it's this one, oh wrong way, other way, do this, just clicking on this, and you see I've got to 70 degrees, 60 degrees, 50 degrees in the panel on the right hand side, 40 degrees, and you can see I'm getting more and more power out as I point more and more towards the sun, all the way down. So it's now pointing at the sun directly. I don't think I get any more power going near left and right, and if I come down the bottom on these 2 pads here, I can rotate it left and right. As you can see, that's actually the best place for it, because the sun goes directly overhead. So that's how you build a panel. Now obviously I can't stand here all day clicking this to make it track the sun, so what I need to do is set up a little data network. But first I want to connect this to my power supply. So using my power leads, and I'm just going to get some more power leads back in a second. There we go, I've just got myself a few more power cables. Power cables in one hand, wire cutters in the other hand, and then just as normal, use the mouse wheel to get the shape you want. I want an angle here, and I want to go across the top, and then just run that cable in. And the reason I'm coming around this way is it needs to connect up with the output from this panel here, like so. As you see there, that's now connected. At the minute it's obviously not getting any sun because there's no sun showing, but ultimately we would be getting power from that. Once the sun comes up, we will get power from it when we point it towards the sun. Now it's no good just having one solar panel. You typically want several, and because I know the sun's going to go right over the top, I'm going to print some more solar panels and set them up, so bear with me a second. And here we go, I've got some more solar panels. I'm just going to quickly set them up. I'm going to do something that I'm going to show you two things. So first of all, I'm going to show this one with separate power and data port, and then this one, the standard solar panel, I'm going to rotate the output to a different location. So this one, the power is always pointing left, when left on here is north. On that one, I've got the power output pointing to the east. And again, let me just quickly connect these up. So there we go, we've got those solar panels connected up. That is the easy bit, setting the solar panels up, building them, that's quite simple. The harder part is getting them to track the sun. So to make the solar panels start tracking the sun, we need three things. The first is a sensor kit like this, and that's telling me I need iron. I think I've got iron in here, so let's just take the iron out of here, turn the printer on, let it eject everything, close the handle, turn it off, there's the iron, put the iron in there, and I'm just going to stick this out of habit back in this printer. So now we've got everything to print that sensor kit. So click go, and there we go, there's our sensor kit. So pick that up, and the next thing we need are two logic chips. So type in logic, and what I want is the logic IO, and I need two of these. They take copper and gold, so they're really easy to make, very cheap to make. There's one, and there's the other one. So I pick them up. So now we've got our logic chips, we've got a sensor. What do we do with them? So what I've actually done is I have printed off three sensor kits. You only need one, but I printed off three because I want to show you something. So the sensor kit, there's 5 different things it can make. So it's, this first one here is a daylight sensor. This is the one we want. This will track the sun across the sky, both horizontally and vertically. We have, by rolling the wheel, we have the motion sensor, which does basically the same as, a motion sensor in your house. Gas sensor, we will be using that so you can monitor the gas in the airlock and open and close the doors based on the gas in there. You just walk in, press the button, and it automatically shuts the outside doors, repressurizes the chamber and allows you to move in. Now when you're going out, come out, hit the button, closes the doors, sucks all the gas out, and then opens the outside door. Next we have an occupancy sensor, just seeing if there's somebody in the room, good for controlling lights and things. And a proximity sensor is somebody close by, so you might not want to light up a whole room or a long corridor. You only might want to light up the bit that's close, so where people are close to. But for now I want the daylight sensor, and the reason I printed 3 is I want to show you something. You rotate the press and C, by the way. Again, I'm going to print the first one here, second one here, and the third one on this wall here. Now, if you look, they look like a little bit like a mini solar panel. If I pull the cursor over them, you see it says grid sunlight false, solar at an angle 124, solar irradiance 0, horizontal and vertical. And they're the 2 numbers we're interested in, the horizontal and the vertical. And why aren't you changing? Oh yeah, there we go. The vertical's just gone from 121 to 120. Now 119, such and such. It'll carry on going down. But the horizontal's -1. If I go into this one, we've got horizontal minus 90, so all I've done is rotated that to 90 degrees. So it's pointing, instead of pointing that way, if you imagine that sort of being an arrow shape, pointing that way, this one's arrow shape now pointing this way, but it's given a horizontal angle 90 degrees out. The vertical angle is still the same because they're both on the same horizontal plane. Now this one is on a vertical plane, and if I hold cursor over that one, you'll see we've got horizontal is now 16 as opposed to 91, and the vertical is now 91. So what's that telling us? Basically that's telling us that the orientation of these panels is critical to getting the right reading. Now if I just remove this one from here, you can get my backpack, and I place this one on the wall here, but I rotate it. Now we'll see they're both on the same vertical plane, so the vertical number is the same, but the horizontal on that one is 4, and on that one it's minus 87. Again, a 90 degrees out, but this time on the horizontal plane, and that's because of being rotated in the vertical axis. So this one is now effectively pointing down, that one's pointing that way. Okay, so you just need to be aware that orientation matters. Now all I really want to read to get these to work, the vertical axis. So how do we get these solar panels to track the sun? This one's obviously pointing this way, it's not picking up any sun. That one's pointing a bit, these are both pointing a bit that way, and are getting a little bit of sun. As the sun comes over, they'll get more of it. I mean, I could suppose I could angle one like that, one sort of 45 degrees, one at 90 degrees up, one 45 degrees that way, and one as far down as it'll go that way. But then they're only catching some of the sun during some of the day. What I want to be able to do is track the sun throughout the whole day across the sky. To do that, I need some devices, and that is logic chips. Now I need 2 logic IOs. They only take 1 gold each. I need 1 logic memory. Again, that's just 1 copper, 1 gold each. I need 1 logic processor. That's 2 gold, 2 copper. So none of these are expensive, as you can see. And then the other thing I need is a sensor kit, which is 3 iron, 1 copper, 1 gold. So I'll go print them and then we'll come back. So I have all the devices I need, but I want to quickly show you one thing. Where we're going to put them? I'll probably on this wall here. Nice big expansive wall. I've got access to power down there, and that's a network side for the solar panels. All these logic chips, let me just bring one down. Logic IO will do. If I click on it, you can see it has a power connection on one side, network in on the right, network out on the left. The various types of logic chips, logic IO, so we've got the logic reader, we have the logic writer, we have the batch writer, logic mirror, slot reader, batch reader, reagent reader, batch slot reader, and then a logic switch. The only 2 we're interested in is the logic reader, so this one, and the batch writer. And the other thing you need to be aware of is that power connection on the bottom can't come from the power generation side of your network. So that's the power generation side of the network from the solar panels. This is the output side of the area controller. The power has to come from the output side of the area controller. So what I'm going to do is, because I need to get a few chips along here, is I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go start with the logic reader. I'm going to start over here and it'll become parent Y. So let's put logic reader down to begin with. That will read a specific number from a specific device. In this case, it is from a daylight sensor, which is part of the sensor kit. So I've printed 3 sensor kits off. Why? I'll show you. So I've placed 3 daylight sensors on each of these corners here. So just so we can get an idea. So what I want to show you is I click at this, hover the mouse over this one. You see the vertical reading is 91. If I come here, the vertical reading is 1. It's now 2, which is actually below the horizon. And that's going up 3, 4. It's you know, the sun goes under. This one, it's in the verticals now 95. Why is that 95 where that one's 5? Because on the vertical plane that's rotated. See it here, vertical plane, that plane, it's rotated to 90 degrees. If we look at the horizontal, that's -5, and that one's 179. And then again, that's because on a horizontal plane, these are rotated through 180. The power connection's this way, power connection's that way. If I lifted this one up, the power connection would be pointing the other way. So if I just take this one, just to show what I mean, put it back down with the data port pointing that way, they're both in the same horizontal plane now, and are both reading -1, well -2 now as it's changing. So the reason I placed this logic reader here is because it's going to take a reading from a daylight sensor, it's going to output that reading to a math unit which will do some calculations on it. That math reader will then output to a batch writer, and a batch writer will write to the solar panels. Now I've got daylight sensor kit, I've got sensor kits in my hand. If I come up here quickly to show you, there are 5 variations of the sensor kit. There is this one here, daylight sensor, this is the one we want. There is a motion sensor for detecting motion in the area. There is a gas sensor for reading gas temperature and pressure, which we'll be using in the airlocks. There is an occupancy sensor for checking if a room is occupied, say. And there is a proximity sensor, check if somebody's near one of these sensors so you can do things like switch lights on and off. And then you're back to the daylight sensor. Now orientation is everything on these, just be aware of that. And what I recommend is you place this sensor on a east facing wall, like so. So when the sun comes up, it goes straight onto it, and the network connection pointing up. Now that isn't very close to my logic reader over there, but that doesn't matter because we're going to use the same network anyway. Let me just connect that up. It's still on this network, so all I've got to do is bring this network along. And down on the input side of this logic chip. Now I want to pick it up again quickly and show you. Input side is on the right. So just place that. Actually we'll lift it up. We'll place it there. Oh, don't want to drop that. And then I will connect that to that. Now the other connections on here are the output and the power. Now the power, as I said, has got to come from the output side of the area controller, power area controller. So I'm just going to run this cable along, using a lot of cables I know, don't worry. You can lay it out better than this, I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Oh, I need this. See what happens there, it's allowed me to run those cables in with this hand drill in my hand, but as soon as I want to connect it into another connection, you must have the wire cutters. And there we go, that's connecting that in. And if I turn this on by hitting this red little button here, that's turned amber because it doesn't know what it's reading. Now what I can tell it to do is to read the, if I come onto this little nubbins here, this little bolt here, with a screwdriver in my hand, I can change it. So currently it's not connected to anything. If I left click, that's now connected to the area power controller. I don't want that. It's now another click and it's now connected to the daylight sensor. That's exactly what I want, the daylight sensor. What I want to pick up from my daylight sensor, I want to pick up the vertical reading. So basically, how high is the sun in the sky? Okay. And we do that because it will get that from this. Currently that vertical reading is 93. So now if we turn this on and hover the mouse over it, you can see we've got that vertical reading 88, 87, and that's going through that, what's coming out of this pin here. Now that's not going anywhere at the minute. what I need to do is another logic chip, except this time I want the batch writer. So we've gone from logic reader, logic writer to batch writer. Input on the right hand side, output on the left hand side. Let's place that. The input has got to be from the logic reader, like so, and the output I want to connect back into this network because this is what all the solar panels are connected to. Let me get the wire cutters, like so, and now it needs power as well, so I'm just going to connect that into this power junction here. And now this one, if I use a screwdriver again, you've got to use a screwdriver. I'll show you, you can't use anything else, won't change it, it's red. Use a screwdriver, it's green. In is logic reader only, because that's the only thing connected to that bit of wiring there. That acts as an isolator from the rest of the network. And on the output, I want an output type of solar panel dual, is the one with the 2 outputs, like so. So why did I pick batch writer instead of just logic writer? So logic writer, I could put a logic writer here, and I can have it writing to one of these solar panels. A logic writer will only write to one device, like a logic reader will only read from one device. To write to multiples of the same type of device, you need a batch writer, which is why I put a batch writer in here. In this case, we want to write to the solar panels, not the dual ones with the 2, but the normal ones with the single mixed connection, like this, where you got the power and the network on the same leg. And that is just a solar panel. If you hover over it, it is solar panel. Hover over this one, it is solar panel dual. So I just want the solar panel for now. So come to here. Click on this until we get to the solar panel flat. No. Solar panel dual. No. Solar panel. Because that one's a solar panel flat. See? Solar panel flat. What do we want to write to? We want to write the vertical reading of the sun's location in the sky. So hover over this nut, left click, horizontal no, vertical yes. Now if I turn this on, these should all swing. But if you notice, I'm moving in different directions, and I did this deliberately, and this one isn't moving at all. So why are they moving in different directions? Well, they're moving in different directions because the orientation of the solar panels matter. I recommend you always have it so this connection is pointing north. Do the same again on this one. So let's rotate this one round. To do that, I need to take the glass out of it. Pick it up with a hand drill. Place it back down, make sure you've got the correct version selected with the 2 connections on one side, and that connection is pointing north, which is that way. And then just wire it up. Let me just get the cable wires in there. Yeah, don't need all this cabling here. So just connect this one, like so. And now I'll put the glass back in it. There we go. So that one and that one are now pointing the same way. This one's not moving, and I think I probably explained why already. It's because it's a different type. This one's a dual. It's got 2 inputs. So that's no good. I want to keep them all the same. So again, I'm just going to quickly dismantle this one. Take the glass out of it. Pick it up with the screwdriver, with the drill, and then place it down as a normal solar panel, not the dual variant, with the connection pointing to the north. Okay, that cable's already there because we had a cable there. It's tilting over to match these ones. I'll put the glass in like that. I don't need that little tail there, so just for tidiness I'll come down and I'll remove that. There we go. All 3 solar panels are now pointing the right way. Problem is, they're pointing the wrong way, I think. So you've got a reading of 5 degrees now on this, and a pointing away from the sun. Now I could move these around so that they're now pointing at the sun, but what will happen is they're all pointing away from the sun. So let me try something. Let me take this, and instead of facing that way, let's put it on this wall here so it's facing 180 degrees out, and connect it up. I don't know if I've got enough cables here. Oh yeah, I do. There we go. This is flashing orange because I disconnected the device it was connected to. So now I've got to go back in and reselect the daylight sensor. And I want the vertical. There we go, green. These are now going to swing over and point at the sun. So that reading's 154, 153, 152, 151, and they will now track the sun over the sky. So what have we learned? Orientation of the daylight sensor is critical. It should be pointing to the west. Orientation of the solar panel connection is critical. It should be pointing to the north. And if you do that, on the moon at least, you can then track the vertical axis of the sun over the sky. Now the moon is unusual in that the sun goes pretty much directly over the top. How do I know that? So if we look at this, we have a horizontal reading of 177, which is very close to 180. It's going very slightly to the north of the equator, just very slightly out. Something else I want to point out is that the solar panels are producing 480 watts of power. I don't think they produce much more than that. I think I was produce about, what's that, 200 because on the flat. But it's also 96-97% efficiency. And that little drop is because of the angular. You can tweak it. Let's see. Oh, wrong way. I want to go 2 degrees that way, 3 degrees, 4 degrees that way. But the problem is, if I do that, that's fine in the morning, but in the evening the sun's going to still be over that side and these are going to be 8 degrees out. So I'm just going to put them back to pointing 360. And for the moon, you don't need to worry about it. You've got a very little amount of power, 3%. It's nothing. As the sun's right overhead, it'll be even less. So don't worry about the horizontal setting on the moon. You do need to worry about it on Mars, and you do need to worry about it on other planets. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get your solar panels to track the sun on the moon. And that's it. We're now capturing 1,500 watts of power for half of the day, instead of maybe a few hundred watts for some of the day. We've tripled our power output with 3 solar panels. Sun's gone behind the Earth at the moment, which is why it's got into darkness. It will reappear and you'll get a bit more light. Unfortunately, means this solar panel is no longer of any use to me. I mean, it is producing a bit of power, but not a huge amount. If you're having problems, like I say, just remember the standard solar panels with a mixed power network connection pointing north. How do I know it's pointing north? Compass heading down here. Your daylight sensor with the network connection at the top facing to the west. How do I know it's west? Compass down here, 270 degrees that way. and that should give you what you need to get your solar panels orientated in the correct direction. As you can see, it's actually starting to tilt back now. That's because the sun's numbers are changing under here, and it'll so when the sun comes up over here, they'll be facing completely the other side, which is correct. So what have we learned this session? We've learned how to print and build these solar panels, and there are two variants of them. How to connect them to your power network. How to print and build logic reader and a batch writer and a sensor kit, and how to connect all of them together so that your solar panels will track the sun, and what pins you need to set on the logic reader and the logic writer to get them to track the sun. So the important things are these mixed connections on these solar panels, not the dual ones, the ones with a mixed connection, and that connection is pointing in that direction, which is roughly north, and that your daylight sensor is on a west facing wall, so that wall's facing west that way. Again, how do we know? Down here. And that the connection is at the top facing up skyward. You then need your logic reader and your batch writer connected to the same network with a network connection pointing skyward, and that power connection, either through a bigger chain of connections or direct connection, must have a route through the cabling to the input of your logic reader. Your logic reader then outputs to the batch writer, and the batch writer outputs to the power generation side of the network. The power input for the logic reader and the batch writer has to come from the output side of your area power controller, so not the power generation side but the output side. Okay, the reason being basically, if that at night now there's no power on this network here, if I bring up my tablet, put the network analyzer in it, put it in my hand, turn that on, potential 0 or devices 8, actual is 0 watts, potential 0 watts, required 1.1.2 kilowatts. So we're not producing any power, so these would not be powered at all, and nothing would work. So just make sure that you've got them all connected the right way. And that's it. Easy. It can sound complicated, it can get confusing, especially when you're messing around with the orientation of these panels, these daylight sensors and the solar panels themselves. But just follow what I say here and you should be fine. So guys, that's it. That's solar panels for you. Tracking solar panels. Not that difficult. You will probably build them quite early on in your game because you need the power. That's it. So next session I'm going to show you how to build a station battery. This allows you to store the glut of power we have coming from our solar panels during the day, and then allow us to store that better than just the one little battery that we've got in our area power controller, and it means we become more self-sufficient. At the moment, if I run these two printers for any length of time at night, that little battery will run out. A station battery will last a lot longer. And that's what we'll cover in the next session. So, right guys, thanks for watching. And with the sun in the distance, the little blue marble and solar panels slowly turned towards us, I wish you good night.